Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host, Tegan. Let's get right into it. So one of my absolute favorite family traditions is making Polish pierogi around Christmas time. We always get the whole family together and make mass amounts of pierogis. I'm talking like 150 to 200 at least. And those last us throughout the whole year. These are perfect to make ahead of time and freeze, and you can keep them for months. Especially since our recipe makes at least 50 pierogi and probably more. Pierogi consists of a noodle-like dough and filling. It's basically like a Polish ravioli or dumpling with a potato or some other type of filling. To give you a little bit of background, my family is Polish and our pierogi recipe is pretty similar to the traditional recipes. So through years of communist regime, Poles were limited in what they could utilize. So the dough and the fillings are pretty simple, which is one of the things that I love about them. It's so easy to make. It is thought that the Polish get their pierogi recipe from Kievan Rus, now known as the Ukraine, from the Hyacinth of Poland. The Hyacinth of Poland is a monk from a Kievan monastery who later became the patron saint of pierogi. And I didn't even know there was a patron saint of pierogi, so I thought that was pretty cool. So it adds up that most people think that he brought the pierogi to Poland. The first pierogi recipe written down was in a cookbook called the Compendium Fercolorum in 1682. And the filling consisted of chopped kidneys, veal fat, greens, and nutmeg. And I know I said our recipe was pretty similar to the traditional, but not that similar. Not that far back, not that traditional. That sounds gross. The most popular filling nowadays, and the one that my family makes, is pierogi ruski. In the autumn and the winter, the most popular pierogi is sauerkraut and mushroom. This is the traditional Christmas Eve dinner in Poland. Also one of the ones that we make and eat around Christmas and on Christmas Eve. My family also makes the potato and cheese ones, the pierogi ruski that I mentioned before. Pierogi was introduced to the United States in the wake of the Great Depression. The first documented sale was in May of 1928 in Cleveland, Ohio. Again, in the Great Depression, there wouldn't be a lot of money, so simple recipes were pretty important. Now let's cook. Okay, so first, we're gonna make our potato filling. So we've already cooked our potatoes, but if you're doing this on your own, you'll want to boil them until they mash easily. So we're making about a quarter of the recipe. So that's gonna be like 3/4 of a pound. Ish, okay? It's not an exact science, anyways. Then we're gonna add half a stick of butter. Okay, 1/4 pound of farmer's cheese. I got this at Whole Foods. You can sometimes find it other places. Okay. Some onions, about 1/4 of an onion. This is not the full recipe because, like I said, the full recipe feeds an army, and we're not trying to feed an army today. And then just a splash of milk. And we're gonna mix it up. So we'll mix together the first filling for the pierogis. This can be made without onions. That's how my siblings and my mom prefer it. But I think it has way more flavor with the onions. So you'll wanna mix that until it's like mashed potatoes. And then at this point, it's gonna be a little bit bland. So we're gonna add salt and pepper. I personally prefer to do garlic salt. I think it makes it taste way better, but it's totally up to you. And this is also like just to taste, so also totally up to you. So, once it's done, you want to taste it, make sure you like it, you would eat it. Okay. Tastes pretty good to me. So, well, this filling takes the longest to cool, which is why we make it first. So now we're gonna put it in a bowl and let it sit in the fridge or the garage if you live in Colorado or Alaska and have a cold garage. Okay, so now we will mix together the dough for the pierogi. It's a fairly simple dough. It just consists of mostly flour, eggs, and sour cream. So we're just gonna put all the ingredients into the bowl. It's about 1 1/8 cup of flour, a 1/2 cup of sour cream, this one was a little complicated because, like I said, I quartered the recipe. So this is 1/2 an egg and 1/2 an egg yolk beat together. Okay. And then 1 tablespoon of butter. And just a dash of salt. Thankfully, this isn't baking, so we can just throw all the ingredients together in the bowl in no specific order. And you'll see, like I did, and what I think is easiest to do is to mix together the eggs ahead of time so that they blend a little easier, but you don't have to. It's entirely up to you. So, we're gonna mix this dough until it forms a soft ball. Actual pierogi won't stick to itself. So. And it might take a while sometimes. You just kind of have to let it go until that ball forms. So yeah, it'll be pretty sticky. And then we're just gonna put this in a bowl and let it sit for about an hour. Okay, so now we're gonna make the sauerkraut and mushroom filling. This filling used to be made solely for my dad. He was the only one in my family, my immediate family, who ate them. But this past year, I decided to try them out, and now I'm actually a huge fan. They have a lot more texture and flavor than the potato and cheese ones. So the first step is gonna be to melt the dirt in the saute pan. And then once it's melted, or sort of melted, you're just gonna toss everything in. Sauerkraut, so I did a can of sauerkraut, and then a little can of mushrooms, and then some onion. Kind of like I've been saying the whole time, it's really your preference, especially for these fillings. There's not really any science to them. And then we're just gonna saute it until the onions are clear. Everything looks good, smells good, tastes good. You'll definitely want to add salt and pepper to this. But yeah, other than that, and you'll definitely want to taste it to make sure that you like the way that it tastes, for salt and pepper and everything. If you don't like sauerkraut and mushroom, have somebody else taste them. If no one in your house likes them, you should probably skip this part of the video. Okay, so now you've gotten to the hard part, and it's not even that difficult, just a little bit time consuming. So some tools you're gonna need, some type of scoop or spoon. These are really nice because it just plops the filling right onto the dough. A biscuit cutter or some other type of circular edge. A glass will do the trick. Rolling pin, again, if you don't have a rolling pin, a glass will work. And then to seal them, probably a fork is what you'll have, and I'll show you how to do it with that. But then we also have this nice little tool from Tupperware. Okay, so you're gonna wanna flour your workspace. It's definitely best to have everything out in front of you, or you can just grab it super easily. And then you're gonna take a piece of dough. You can do however big you want. I'm just going small because I'm making a couple. You're gonna roll it out to about a 1/4 inch thick. And when you make them in bulk, like we usually do at Christmas, you'll definitely want like a bigger piece than this, but like I said, I'm only making a couple, so I'll just, okay, I guess I'll just do one at a time. So you're gonna cut your dough out, and then you're gonna take your little dough circle and you're gonna roll it out even thinner to about 1/8 of an inch. And once you've got that, you're gonna take whichever filling. I'm gonna do potato first. Put it in your scoop, plop it down, and then you're gonna fold this in half. Okay, and then, so like I said, there's a couple different ways you can do this. So, to use the fork, you have your little crescent shape here. You take the fork and you just press and seal around it. Okay. And then you have a little pierogi. Or you can do it with the biscuit cutter, right? So you'll take the biscuit cutter and put it so that it's like there's a little bit of dough sticking out, and then you just press down and you peel that dough off, and that seals it like that. And then the last way, if you, by some stretch of magic, have this little red guy that I do, I'll show you how to use that too. It's way easy. We used to not like them. We were stupid. Okay, so you want to make sure that your dough is rolled out enough to go all the way over the red thing. So these tend to make like bigger pierogies than the other two. I'm gonna take a scoop of whichever filling. So for this one, I'm doing the sauerkraut and onion. You just put it in the center there, and then you just clamp it shut. Okay, and then peel off the extra dough. And you have a pierogi. And like I said, these ones kind of tend to be a little bit bigger. So you're gonna do this until you run out of dough or filling, hopefully both. If you followed the recipe, you're gonna have a ton of pierogies. Like I said, 50 to 100, somewhere in there. So what you're gonna wanna do is freeze them. You have a bunch of pierogies that you don't know what to do with. You're gonna take a sheet tray, any old sheet tray. This one's kind of, and you'll line your pierogies on it. So this size, you can probably fit like 12. And then put them in your freezer for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then you can put them in plastic baggies to store them for literally months. They're not gonna like expire on you as long as they're frozen. The reason we do this is because otherwise the dough, like I said, it's pretty sticky dough. So if you were to just throw them all in a bag together, it would all stick together. And then you'd have a gross pierogi mess when you try to cook them later on. Nobody wants that. But if you're gonna eat them right now, what you're gonna do is take a pot of water, literally any size pot, but like your average sized sauce pot will hold like 3 to 4 pierogies, 4 to 5, somewhere in there, at a time. And you're gonna boil some water It just needs to be enough to cover the pierogies. Like, this literally all depends on how many you're cooking at a time. If it's just for you, you'll probably just need small 3 pierogies. And then you'll boil them, and it's usually until they float. If you're cooking them from frozen, you'll want to grab a fork and test the center and make sure that it's not still frozen, because nobody wants to eat that. And then you can serve them with sour cream, salt and pepper, butter on top, kind of whatever you prefer. What I like to do is, as soon as they're done boiling, I grab a paper towel and I just kind of dry them off, and then I saute them for a little bit so they're crispy on the outside. Just kind of gives them another layer of texture, and they're really, really good like that. So yeah. Okay, thanks for hanging out with me today, pals, and cooking. And I can't see your face, but I'm a good time, so I'm sure you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed learning about one of my family traditions, one of our favorite recipes. Oh, there's my dog, sorry. We'll see you next time to talk about one of my friends' family recipes. And I'll bring them on, and it'll be twice the fun.